welcome to Gamers Web. Today we're going to look at something slightly different from normal. We're going to look at a brand new game, SPQR, from our good friends at Warlord Games. SPQR is a warband combat game set in the ancient world, and this is the two-player starter set, Clash of Heroes, which comes with some really nice miniatures. Okay, so what we get in the game is we get 70 miniatures, a 196 page rulebook, the cards for the units and the characters, some dice, shields for all the characters, all the models that have shields, as well as decals, water slide decals that just go onto the shields, which makes things a lot easier when you come to paint them. Because anybody who's painted an ancient army up will know that the shields are things that take the most time. And the miniatures are split into 40 gold warriors with a command, 12 gold tribesmen, archers, and a gold chieftain. And we get 8 Caesarian Roman legionnaires with gladius, 8 Caesarian Roman legionnaires with Pulim, and a Roman hero. Right, so obviously the Romans are outnumbered quite a lot by the Gauls, and we'll have a look at them in closer detail in a moment. Okay, so this is brand new, it's only just come out, and I'm quite excited for it. Sorry about that, just knocked my camera. Okay, so quickly popping the lid off the box, and we see our rulebook, which we'll look at in a little more depth in a moment. It's full colour, as you would expect from a company like Warlord, and covers everything you need to know from the basics of the game right through to army lists for lots of different factions. So you've got things like the Gauls, the British, Caesar's legions, Sumatra, Macedonia, Persia, Sparta, Thebes, and then mercenaries. And we do have some legendary characters in here as well, such as Boudica and Caractacus, and we also have people like Mark Antony. And just in case you're into your medieval movies, we also have the guys from 300. So we have characters like Leonidas and lots more characters, so let's jump straight in. Okay, so the rulebook is a full colour rulebook, as I just mentioned. SPQR. Now, people may be wondering what SPQR stands for. You have to forgive my Latin, I'm not very good at it. It's Senatus Populesque Romanus, which basically translated into English means the Roman Senate and people. And you've probably seen this in churches on some religious iconography, because it has been used for a long time. Now, this game is set predominantly 55 BC, which is around the time of the Roman conquest of Britain, and does go a little bit later on, as we'll see when we go through the game. Okay, so I've put the rule book at one side for a moment. We'll look at that in a moment. We get a rules reference sheet, which is always handy. I'm really glad that Warlords do these dividers. They're very quick to get used to, and they make a great addition to the game. I would be lost without mine for Gates of Antares. Okay, so inside the game we get our cards, which we'll look at in a moment, along with our decals. A load of dice, 12 dice. We get some of the brand new resin, Warlord resin shields for our models. We get 2 resin, if I can get those, the 2 resin characters, which we'll look at again in a moment. So you got your chieftain and your centurion captain. And then we get all brand new resin archers for the Gauls. Now, there's 12 of those. Now, the miniatures themselves are not new miniatures. The miniatures were originally made by War Games Factory. As far as I'm aware, they were originally War Games Factory, although they do say Warlord Games on them. If I am wrong, please forgive me. I will try and find out, but they do look very much like the War Games Factory miniatures. So you get lots and lots of different head poses, head options. So this is the Gaul sprue. So you've got Gauls with heads and with helmets and without helmets, bare-chested, throwing spears or javelins, and with short swords or long swords. And more or less the sprues are identical for those two. And there's another one that's the same. So we've got 4 identical sprues, which are all the Gauls. And then we have got all our bases, which come in these nifty things. What I like to do with these is I like to glue them on, glue the legs on, glue the miniatures on, and then spray them up so I can actually undercoat them. I find that a lot easier. So and now we have our centurions and our Roman centurions with gladius and big shields. Okay, and there's 1, 2, 3, and finally number 4. Okay, so they're all identical. So the miniatures, like I say, I'm positive that the miniatures are ex-Wargames factory, because I know that Warlord bought a lot of the molds off Wargames factory. That's why they did games like Project Z and a few other games that use those miniatures. Right, so I'm going to quickly have a look at the cards. So if you bear with me 2 seconds, I'm just going to open these for you. And it's also got the decals. So now this is just my unboxing. The full review of the game will be linked down below once I put the video up on YouTube. Right, okay, so we have 3 sets of shields, decals. So we have the Celtic ones, which can be used for the Gauls, and they can also be used for the Britons as well. And there's the other one, which is identical. So it's pretty pointless by showing you that, but that's the other one. And then here's your lightning emblems from your, 1 second, the right way around, from the Caesarian Roman legionnaires. So basically these are actually water slide, and from what I've been told, they're very, very good. They go on quite well without any tearing, which for a water slide decal is something that you really need. I will do a tutorial on these as soon as I get around to actually doing them. Okay, so we have our hero. There we go. A chieftain of Warlord of his tribe of the Gaul. Hero has respect of all those beneath him, below him, having earned it by sword and spear. In battle, the hero will be found wherever the fighting is at its most fierce and desperate. It is the ambition of lesser warriors to join this warband, to learn from the hero's experience and perhaps one day follow in his footsteps. So he costs 45 denarii, and his type is infantry hero. Now you have infantry hero, you have legendary, and you have troop units, and you also have, from what I can remember, just basic units like the centurions can get a scorpion, which is a bolt thrower. Okay, so we got the options for him, and then his stats. So he's got a movement of 6, his range is +1 when he goes to hit, he's got a melee of +2, he's got 2 dice in melee, he's got +2 agility, +2 bravery, an armour of +0 because he's a chieftain, and 2 wounds. So that's just a quick look at him. And then we've got the tribesmen. They cost 7 denarii each. Tribesmen, infantry and their minion, they can be equipped with hunting weapons, bows or slings. Tribesmen yet to prove themselves in battle could still join the warriors, taking Gaul's favourite hunting weapons, the bow, sling and javelin. Too poor or too young to have much in the way of armour, these men fan out before the warband, engaging enemy skirmishers and making withering attacks on enemy before the battle erupts into full-scale violence. Okay, and that's the back. I'm not going to bother reading all the backs because they'll all be in my review anyway. Then the last 3 cards we have, is we have our warriors for Gaul. So these are infantry minion. They're equipped with a large shield and sword. They cost 9 denarii, which means they're a little bit more expensive than the skirmishers. And they're made up of lots and lots of guys with swords. Okay, on the legionnaires side, we have our hero, likely a senior centurion or tribune, the hero has his eyes fixed firmly on status and position back in Rome. His performance leading a warband will have deep implications for his military and political career, and he's not going to let any obstacles form a barrier to his ambitions. And he costs 50 denarii, and he's classed as a hero. Now, if we look on his back, he is more or less the same. In fact, he is exactly the same as the Gaul chieftain for his stats. And then finally, we have our legionnaires, which are legionary. So they're infantry minion. They're armed with chainmail, shirts, large shield and sword. And they cost 24 denarii each. And again, they're a lot harder than the regular Gaul troops because they're better drilled. They don't move as fast because they're heavily armoured, but they've got a better bravery, they've got a worse agility, and they've got a really good armour. They've got an armour of +3. So if you can see that. Okay, so that's a quick look at the core box itself, and we'll have a look at the rules now. I'll just move these out of the way. And if you pre-order the game, or if you're lucky enough to still get one from Warlord Games, they do a blood sacrifice limited edition model, which is basically a druid type character that's about to do a sacrifice on a goat, because obviously they weren't Christians. They believed in blood sacrifice and blood ritual and things like that back when the Romans did their conquest of Europe and the UK, was before it became the UK. Now, as I say, SPQR is something I've been looking forward to for quite a while, and it was only when I actually opened the box last night to have a quick look at the rules that I found out that this is actually written by a really good friend. This is written by my former boss, Matthew Sprange of Mongoose Publishing. He's the CEO of Mongoose Publishing, and your name might sound familiar because Matthew has done lots and lots of games, from Babylon 5 role-playing game and Call to Arms to Victory at Sea, Traveller, let me think, lots and lots of games, including the Judge Dredd role-playing game, 2 editions of that, the D20 and the Traveller version, which I worked on the D20 version, and also the Gangs of Mega City 1, Starship Troopers, the Dredd miniature game, the before Warlord actually got the rights for it, lots and lots of stuff. So good on Matthew for doing that. Okay, so lots and lots of great artwork throughout the book, and I will be going more into depth in this. Some of these things you'll have seen probably. I'm absolutely positive that these are ex-War Games factory because the artwork looks very familiar. But the game itself looks quite simple to play, and everything is broken down quite easily. Basically, your first 17 pages is all you need. Everything after that is just extra text to help you do things. So we've got the advanced rules, how to use a phalanx, so you get equipment. I think you'll have how to use a tortolero and stuff like that as well. Siege equipment should be in here, but this is a skirmish game. It isn't actually a war game, rather than a full-on war game. It's a skirmish game. Okay, so running campaigns, so another scenario, border invasion, and I'm just going to quickly flick through, and you can stop listening to my stupid voice. Awesome Celt warrior. The artwork's fantastic. The miniatures are painted brilliantly. How to create your warband, and then we have the different variant states. So we've got the Athenian state of Athens, and then there will be all the characters, plus there will be scenarios set around the Athens theatre. So the conquest, slave raid, then Britain, which obviously is more interesting to me because I live in Britain and I am British, even though I live in Scotland. I was born in England, I live in Scotland. Some of these campaigns will be very, very good fun. The Iceni. Now, you may have heard of Adrian's Wall, which is here around Carlisle. It separates Scotland from the rest of Britain. and this map is basically circa 148 AD. So this is actually a lot further on in the game than 55 BC. So this is after the first invasion of, first conquest of Britain. Okay, so there's Hadrian's Wall. What you may not have heard of is this wall here, which is the Antian Wall, Antian Wall, sorry, which separates the rest of Scotland from the Highlands, where all the really crazy people were. The Antian Wall, sorry, my voice is going. Okay, so we've got all different things, and each of the things have a character. So we've got Boudica, and we've got Caractacus. Now, Caractacus is really expensive. He's 200 denarii. When you think that it's 55 denarii for a unit of centurions, that's a lot of money to have in one figure. And then, so we go on to Caesar's legions, and it gives us some background. Now, they've tried to be as historically correct as possible, but obviously people weren't around at this time. Dacia and Sumatra, Gaul, which is one of the main things in the game, and then Germania, which is Germany, Iberia, which is Spain, and Gaul is France, just in case you didn't know, Imperial Rome. And then going further on, we've got Macedonia. So you've got Alexander the Great with war elephants and things. There's the young Alexander and Hephaestion, you know. Persia, absolutely everything's been covered. So this is basically all you need to play the game. And finally at the back, we've got more scenarios and the details on mercenaries. So there we have it. That is a quick look at SPQR from good friends at Warlord Games, and it's available now. There are lots and lots of ancient miniatures already available for this game that you can get directly from Warlord, and because it's a skirmish game, it's quick. You don't need hundreds and hundreds of miniatures. I think that this is going to be very popular. Okay, so that's my quick look at SPQR, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you've got any comments or queries, please leave them in the comment section down below, and I will try and answer them as best I can. As always, thanks for tuning in, and catch you soon.